It's 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in April, and Marlene Okafor is standing in 4 inches of cold water in her own basement, in her socks, holding a flashlight in her teeth. The storm knocked the power out at 11:15 that night. Nobody panicked. She's got a sump pump. Sump pumps handle storms. That's the whole point of the thing. Except a sump pump is an electric motor. And the power is out. And the rain does not care that the power is out. So for 3 hours and 32 minutes while Marlene slept, her sump pit filled, overflowed, and turned her finished basement into a lap pool. By the time she woke up to the sound of her own dehumidifier gurgling, the water had already reached the bottom of the drywall. Insurance total on that one night, $9,400. Drywall, baseboards, a soaked sectional, mold remediation, and 11 days in a hotel because the air quality report came back ugly. Here's the part that should make you angry. There has been a fix for this exact problem, sitting on the shelf of every real plumbing supply house in America since the 1970s. It runs on zero electricity. It costs less than 1 month of the hotel bill Marlene ended up paying. And most homeowners have never heard of it because the businesses that profit from flood damage, restoration companies, battery manufacturers, and yes, some plumbers, have very little incentive to walk you through a $150 part that solves the problem permanently. I'm going to show you exactly what it is, how it works, and how to put one in yourself this weekend. But first, you need to understand why the fix everyone recommends instead, the battery backup pump, is the version of this story that fails you at the worst possible moment. The battery backup isn't lying to you. It's just built to fail with you. If you've ever priced flood protection, you've been quoted a battery backup sump system. Second pump, marine deep cycle battery, charging unit, usually $700 to down to $800 installed. And I want to be fair to that product because it isn't a scam. It works. Right up until the exact moment you need it most. Here's the failure nobody puts in the brochure. A long power outage doesn't just kill your primary pump. It also slowly drains the battery running your backup pump, because that battery has been sitting on a trickle charger with no line power feeding it either. Marine batteries lose meaningful capacity below freezing. They lose capacity with age even in a climate-controlled basement. Most manufacturers rate them for 3 to 5 years before they can't hold a full charge. And most homeowners, understandably, never test the thing until the night they actually need it. Walt Renner ran a 2-man plumbing outfit outside Dayton, Ohio for 44 years before he retired in 2019. I talked to him about this, and he put it about as plainly as I've ever heard it put. I installed hundreds of battery backups. I also got called out to hundreds of houses where the battery backup was sitting there dead as a doornail during the exact storm it was bought for. The battery is the weak link. It's a machine that's supposed to save you when the power's gone, and it runs on the same kind of power that just went. That's not a conspiracy. Nobody in a boardroom sat down and designed a product to fail. It's a genuinely useful device with one structural flaw. It depends on stored electrical charge to defeat a problem caused by the absence of electricity. What you actually want is a backup system that doesn't touch electricity at all. The water-powered backup pump, older than your house's wiring. The fix is called a water-powered backup sump pump, and the mechanism behind it is called the Venturi effect. The same physics that lets a perfume atomizer pull liquid up a straw using nothing but moving air. Discovered by the Italian physicist Giovanni Battista Venturi in 1797, and it has been quietly running industrial ejector pumps, aircraft fuel systems, and, since a company called Basement Watchdog, and a handful of others commercialized it for residential use starting in the mid-1970s, flooding basements for free using nothing but your household water pressure. Here's the mechanism, and I want to walk through it slowly because once you see it, you'll understand exactly why it can't be killed by a power outage. Your home's municipal water line is under constant pressure, typically 40 to 80 pounds per square inch, whether the power grid is up or down. A water-powered backup pump taps into that cold water line with a simple brass T-fitting. Inside the pump body sits a narrow nozzle. When your primary electric pump fails and water starts rising in the sump pit, A float switch, a completely mechanical, battery-free float, the same basic technology that's been in toilet tanks for 150 years, physically opens a valve. Municipal water rushes through that narrow nozzle at high velocity. As it does, it creates a pressure drop right at the throat of the nozzle, exactly the way air rushing past the top of an airplane wing creates lift. That pressure drop generates suction strong enough to pull the standing water out of your sump pit and eject it, right alongside the water that's driving the whole process, out through your existing discharge line. No motor, no battery, no electricity anywhere in the system. As long as the municipal water main is pressurized, and water utilities keep that line pressurized independently of the electrical grid precisely because hospitals and fire hydrants depend on it, this pump runs. It will run during a hurricane. It will run during a 3-day ice storm that takes down power lines for a whole county. It is, by design, powered by the one utility that almost never fails at the same time electricity does. Here's the number that should stop you for a second. The Insurance Information Institute puts the average water damage and freezing claim in the United States at roughly $12,500. And sump pump failure during a power outage is one of the single most common causes on that list. It spikes every single time a storm system knocks out power to a region for more than 6 hours. This isn't a rare freak accident story. It's one of the most statistically predictable ways a homeowner loses 5 figures in a single night, and it is almost entirely preventable with a part that costs less than a nice dinner out for 2. Why your plumber might not have mentioned this. I want to be straight with you about the honest reasons this device is less common than it should be, because it isn't purely villain math. First, it does use municipal water. Roughly 1 to 2 gallons of tap water for every gallon of sump water it ejects. In a genuine multi-day flood event, that can add up to a noticeable line on your water bill, and in a handful of drought-restricted municipalities in the Southwest, local code actually limits or requires special permitting for these units. That's a legitimate limitation, not a hidden one. Second, if you're on a private well instead of municipal water, this device is a much worse fit, because your well pump is also electric, so your backup would fail for the same reason your primary pump did. In that specific case, a battery backup or a generator genuinely is the better answer. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But for the roughly 87% of American households on municipal water, none of that changes the math. A one-time water bill bump of $20 to $40 during a bad storm is not a competing cost against a $9,400 flood claim, a soaked foundation, and 11 days in a Hampton Inn. The quieter reason it's less common: margin. A licensed plumber installing a battery backup system is selling and marking up a $300 to $600 battery unit plus labor, often north of $1,000 total. A water-powered backup unit runs $150 to $250 in parts and takes under 2 hours to install. Renner told me flat out, there's less money in it for the guy doing the installing. That's just the truth of it. Doesn't mean it's a worse product. Means it's a worse invoice. There's a second, quieter reason worth naming honestly, because I don't want to oversell the conspiracy angle here. Many homeowners genuinely don't know this category of product exists, full stop. It isn't stocked on the shelf at most big box stores next to the pumps and the batteries. You typically have to ask for it specifically at a plumbing supply house or search for it by its actual technical name, water-powered backup sump pump, rather than the generic term Sump-Pump backup, which will mostly return battery products. That single naming gap keeps a genuinely superior option for municipal water households buried under search results for the inferior one. Consider a second case, because one story is an anecdote and 2 starts to look like a pattern. A homeowner in suburban Cincinnati, I'll call him by his first name only, Desmond, since he asked not to be named in full, installed one of these units in the fall of 2021 after a neighbor's basement flooded during a 3-day outage from a windstorm. 18 months later, his own power went out for 19 hours during an ice storm. His primary pump, dead in the water, no pun intended, within the first hour once the battery on his old secondary system finally gave out. It turned out to be 6 years old, and nobody had checked it. His water-powered unit ran continuously for the better part of that outage. Total water bill impact for the month, $31. Total flood damage, 0. What you're actually going to buy and install. Here's your parts list. And every one of these is a standard item at any plumbing supply house or the plumbing aisle of a major hardware chain. A water-powered backup sump pump unit. The two most common residential brands are rated for roughly 40 to 90 gallons per minute of ejection capacity at standard municipal pressure. Expect $140 to $220 for the unit itself. A dedicated 3/4-inch cold water supply line with a shutoff valve so you can isolate it for maintenance. A backflow preventer, sometimes called an anti-siphon or vacuum breaker. This is the piece that keeps your basement floodwater from ever being able to travel backward into your clean drinking water supply. This part is non-negotiable, and in most jurisdictions it's legally required. Don't skip it. It's a $15 to $30 part standing between you and a genuinely serious cross-contamination problem. A check valve for the discharge line so your electric pump's discharge and the water-powered pump's discharge don't fight each other. Here's the installation sequence, and I'm giving you the real order plumbers actually follow, not a marketing simplification. Shut off your home's main water supply. Locate your existing cold water line nearest your sump pit. Usually a laundry room or utility room line is closest. Cut in a T-fitting and run 3/4-inch copper or PEX line to where the backup unit will mount, typically bolted to the wall directly above your primary sump pump. Install the backflow preventer in line, oriented correctly per the arrow stamped on its body. Get this backward and it simply won't function, so double-check it before you solder or crimp anything permanent. Mount the backup unit itself. Position its intake hose down into the sump pit at a level a few inches above where your primary pump's float switch normally triggers. This matters because you want the water-powered unit to only kick on as a genuine backup after the primary has already had its chance and failed. Connect its own float switch. Tie its discharge into a Y fitting on your existing discharge pipe, with the check valve installed so backflow can't happen in either direction. Turn your water supply back on slowly and test the unit by lifting the backup float switch by hand. You should hear the telltale hiss of a venturi engaging within about 2 seconds and see water moving up the discharge line. Test the whole system twice a year. Once in spring before storm season, once in fall. It takes 4 minutes, and it's the single highest value 4 minutes of home maintenance most people will do all year. A few installation details that separate a unit that works from a unit that sits there uselessly the one night you need it. Water pressure matters more than most people think. These units are rated to operate reliably starting around 25 to 40 psi depending on the model, so if you're on the low end of municipal pressure,